Really? Okay. I'm like, hey, Chris here. I am trying to design a visual representation for the Annecy colony of the moon, one of the settings in the story I'm writing. So what I was doing is basically trying to visually represent the description that I have thus far and the sort of mental imagery that was involved during, like, I guess some of that imagination. So I'm like, okay, somewhat resembles this, but it's got to be within the actual circular structure. It's slightly smaller than the hemisphere. So this is going to be, I guess, like an overhead visual type representation, and that's basically that this circular area is going to be something like solar panels, and these panels are going to be kind of like in a three-dimensional spherical pattern, but I don't even know what that's called. It's different shapes, I guess, for differing ideas. So to say it's a three-dimensional hemisphere, where the solar panels are spherical as opposed to flat in a hemisphere. And basically, the entire ceiling of a structure is these hemispheres, right? Okay, so we have the same sort of pattern as in the supply chain for the Isle of Angels. So I'm going to duplicate these, and the centralmost unit is going to be good one. I should probably actually select drawing for this. Alright, same sort of ideal. So you go, okay, there's this square area, which is the actual space inside the hemisphere. So I'm not completely sure how far away, I guess, would you want a hemisphere to be in overall relation geometry, the height, as opposed, like, area, as opposed to, like, the ability to cover that. How much further overlapped would the solar panel have to be for a certain height of, the cube, the area? Like, I'm not sure. I'm not really good with geometry, but I'll get there. Okay, so we're going to use, I think, this as a model. So they're pretty much all just duplicates, differing sizes, scales, stuff like that. So it doesn't take much time, really. So you have the idea that sort of repeats, repetition, that let's see, compartments, I guess. There's a rectangular. Now I have to research the information. It's either rectangular or square. So go very geometrical. When you have the central area, which is usually always production of some sort of resource bearing whatever it is. In this case, it's going to be Celine's greenhouse, or something like that, where she grows plants, the botany lab, or botanist's lab, I guess I should say. And then there's kind of like an area somewhere centered horizontally on one of the sides, and you go, which direction, and like you get really super duper consistent with actual moon documentation, I guess, and be like, okay, this could be facing this direction in this quadrant of the moon, or blah blah blah, whatever, right? So that solar energy is gathered throughout this sort of sphere in differing times, and so on and so forth. You go, but this has to be like almost always gathering energy during those times, and storing or saving energy during those times for new moon type stuff, I guess. Anyway, so we have that realization, and then also that solar panels are necessary, that there's going to be connecting corridors. I think those were the rectangular representations. So you go out the side of one of these, to the actual area of the other. Do you want those connecting? Do you not want those connecting? I'm like, slightly no. You want the circular areas to almost be connecting with very, very, very tiny little areas, less exposure of the sort of corridor connecting, if that makes any sense. So it's almost like a web-like construct is kind of like what I was thinking. So you go, web, how do you get web out of this? And then I'm like, no, like, web kind of like Charlotte. So if you imagine an entire sort of circular representation, I think the circular representation would have to be like somewhere right around the corridor, so that you have this. Let me group this. See if this actually works. Duplicate. Like concentric, right? Like central group. Ah, no, group. Center that. That's not gonna work. I'm gonna pull that off to the side for right now. This needs to be ungrouped and let's pull it off to an opposite direction. Right. So, kind of formed an idea right now, which is to not have any corridor exposed. This object should be raised to the top. Okay. So we have the under sort of area, which is underlying a little darker. Have that centered, this centered, and that centered. Okay. So, the idea is that the area surrounding the solar panel, no, that doesn't make any sense either. Interior of the solar panel, so if you go, okay, the solar panel is here, bam, no. Solar panel is here and it's the exterior. Dude, I'm like, okay, so the area between, let's see, the solar panel and the actual area would be like some sort of weatherization. I'm not sure what that is, or not weatherization, but atmospheric protection type thing. I don't know what that is either, but anyway, some sort of atmospheric, protection. You go, they're kind of, exposed to a lot different elements than we are here. And I've heard that so many times it's not even funny. So, not really, but like thought of it so many times it's not even funny. Okay. So, let's see, the ideal is that there's an area between the solar panel and the area that sort of protects the inner area that can be walked. Like, let's see. So this area, duplicate, shrink it a little, boop, center it, lighten it up a bit, page down a few, like page down, up. Alright, so something like that. And that this solar panel is super, super duper thin, right? No, actually I don't like that either. Okay, this solar panel is a little bit thicker than I thought. Okay, then there's this gray area that is about the same distance or same thickness as the rectangular areas. So you go, okay, these are the corridors, these are the corridors that connect differing sort of areas. So we'll use this as a model for what we really want, like these little corridors to be like, right? In differing directions. So you have an entire circular walking area around this. What would you do with it? One, you have to have corridors off in every direction that connect. So you have kind of like quadrants. It's these triangular sort of, I don't know what they're called, conal type areas that are walkable. They connect. Okay, so I like the idea of this area to be a two-way, kind of like a street. So one, she can enter and exit here. If she wants to go this way, enter, exit there, that way, directional. And this is a centralized botany lab. Now you also have to figure out that when she's done growing what she's doing, and this is maybe multi-level, as in height. I don't know that, or no. So we wouldn't say height. We would say height. This is surface, and maybe another grid work for an area below that, so they dig into the moon. I'm like, what would happen if they did that, though? Anyway, like an entire freaking truck out there. And they're like freaking, like a group of digging types. Anyway, I'm like, yeah, okay, no, not really. Anyway, so I'm going to group these and be sure that they are centered, that it's all aligned, and you go, okay. Now, when this area, group, duplicate, is duplicated and shrunk, what happens? I'm like, this gets ungrouped. These are removed. This is regrouped. and something has to happen right here. Now, the ideal basically seems to be that the connecting area is the solar panel. So say the solar panel actually connects the objects. Okay, so height difference. Boop. This needs to be raised to the top. And you see the two areas connect. So I like the idea of the thought of the solar panels connecting, as opposed to the corridor itself. If you go further into the corridor idea, you have this very, very, I don't know if you can see this, but like triangular area where issue could happen. So the solar panel, how far out would you do that? Like right about here, or here, person, if anything comes into this area, and it can be easily cleaned too. Dust, stuff like that. You get incredibly complex. There's a lot of people out there. Anyway, duplicate. Let's see, centered. I'm like, no, I don't like that idea. Like these two areas connecting. Like the entire solar panel area will connect. So what if she lives here? You know, it's very, 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 very tiny. I'm like, what? You know, okay, so this is a central botany lab, and then you say this area is some sort of, let's see, ungroup these. Go further into grid working this, that there are, like sort of, that's too thick, jeez. Okay, bunks, or not bunks, but like rooms. So like this area would be like 4, you know, like, 4 living areas, and in each area they have their own sort of like little, like Celine, she has an atrium where she grows like her own stuff, and she has a pet cat that freaking lives in the atrium. Like whatever. Anyway, the cat doesn't like water, and it knows where to hide when it's raining. Kind of thing, you know, kind of situation. It's all indoor, but you have to figure like that's freaking hella expensive, right? Like, how would you do that? There's no resources there. It's all rock and dirt. I'm like, yeah. I'm serious, though. Anyway, it's just a fun idea, right? Like, yeah, how will we always survive? They're looking for a planet, darn it. People there, they know what it's like. It's kind of like living in a mine on the planet, you know, kind of thing. It's freaking hot. Well, there it's hella cold. What do you do if it's freezing? Like, you know, 260 below. Like, what? Anyway, it's colder than that. They would freeze to an icicle in a minute. Flat. No, I don't know. I don't know that information either. I don't really want to. Yet, anyway. Okay. So what I was going to do is kind of break this into smaller areas. So I'm going to duplicate this and be like, okay, these are always going to be consistent. I want to duplicate those and join those so that it's one continuous piece. It's a union. And then also, you know, like, wow, where did I go with those? Selection. It should be a selection. These should be actually centered. So let me see if I can do that. Pull these back out here. Like, yeah, it's supposed to be centered. Anyway, so here there's like 4 living areas, right? And those living areas are quadrants. There's an issue right here, these corridors. Like, great. How do you represent the corridor and the actual living space? Like, darker area. Anyway, those are the corridors, and the darker areas are where they live. Kind of thing. See, that is differing size. So it's gonna have to be actual spacing, where these are separate pieces. This is a darker piece. Alright. So recorders here. Just like, I'm like, do these 2 pieces become one? It's a union. That's one full piece. Alright. Alrighty then. Brain. Brain's like, psh, don't ask me. Like, yeah, really? Don't fail it now. Okay, so it's almost aligned. It kinda. Like this piece, though. God, why does that always do that? Like selection. Selection. Like that. Yeah, it's always the same direction. Selection. Centered page. Oh, I see. It's selection. Selection area. Yeah. My brain's like, oh, thank you. Yeah. Brain. Alright, so that is actually fairly centered. I think the corridors, I like the idea of being slightly thinner, but at the same time, you know, large corridors. There could be like all kinds of spacing and shelving or, I don't know, something in there. Like here, what's the purpose of coming beyond these two? That's one entire area, no. That's interesting right there. It is. Anyway, so that's thus far. Corridors, this area, darker. Whoosh. Like, how do you know it's connecting? I'm like, you do. You just do. There are no corridors that come through there. Just into the area, it looks like. I mean, does that make any sense? Looks like a little gift. Oh, that is more than a gift. Yeah, I'm sure. Do they really do that to each other? Asking questions to myself. Okay, so anyway. Corridors. There are rooms and corridors. Corridors are open areas with the same gray. Can be walked around. Now, here's a slight difference. This corridor comes out to the joining area in two areas, which are north and south, or, you know, like that. And you wait a sec. What if this is like a very, very large room? And then there's, you know, people who live over here with lesser size because they like studios as opposed to, you know, an entire area. And she's like, what about this? She's like, well, I walk out this way and that way, you know, and I have a personal atrium that's here. She's like, that's a thermal area. She's like, yes, it is. You know, something like that, you know, you have like an entire sphere. She's like, that's my personal atrium. Get out of there. Cracking myself up now. Alright. You know, so it's kind of neat, right? So we have, let's see, personal atrium, and let's see, those two are union because it's the same. Union, she's like, union. Within the, let's see, the thermal type, thermal type objects. Raise, lowers, lower bottom thermal dynamics, which is the study of heat, isn't it? Heat within certain types of materials, I think it is. I'm not sure. Thermal dynamics. Union. Alright. Let's see, this corridor and this corridor are also union. Like, gosh, I need a, let's see, control plus. Okay, so we have this corridor as well as a union of this, but not really right now. Okay, so basically, Celine lives here, right? She lives in this area of this little living hemisphere. I think. Semisphere. Hemisphere. Whatever. Semisphere. Whatever. She works here. This central botany lab. Yeah, her place is kind of huge. I mean, little. Okay, so I'm going to change the size of these real quick. Like, gosh. This and this. Let's see, no. Kind of like the distance in that sense, though. She's like only the size of the thermalness changes. It's like, geez. There's a different type of material. I don't know. They go, it's plants. I'm like, yes, it's plants. It's a lot larger, by the way. A little living space. Anyway, not that much larger, maybe. Okay, so maybe like 8 times the size, 9, 10. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 8. 8 by 8. 64 times. See, diagonal. Yeah, I'm trying to remember those numbers. Okay, so it's squares for diagonal. There's 64 squares within this area, which is 8 by 8. So 64 squares across diagonal would be like half of 64 is the square root. Okay, so these get grouped. Let's see. Her little living area is like a bubble off that. And she's like, it's not very important. You know, then it becomes really super important. It's like, crap. This little area gets grouped, and I'm going to take it into like a little, actually, selection area as far as the page. The botany lab is definitely off there. Anyway, so we have a little connecting corridor. Do you know, like web-like? I don't know, I'll get there. Slightly different. I might change that realization. Anyway, she has like this little tiny corridor. She's like, yes, it's tiny. A group. Okay. Kind of characters, if they lived in this area, what would it be like? Cha! And I changed that. Okay, so I can duplicate this one. I'm like, go back with you. Don't. Okay. I'm like, is that off though? Like, it might be slightly off. Group. Horizontal. I'm like, that's not very off. God. See. Anyway. Okay, so I need a guide. Yes, it's way off. What did I do? A group. Okay, so there's a slight spatial difference, it looks like. Like, which one? Yeah, it's in my way. So I'm gonna go with that. Alright then. Confused on that idea. Anyway, this is the botany lab. Like, whatever. She knows what she's doing. Okay. Whatever. Oh yeah, it's quarter number 2. She only has 2 coming out of the central botany lab, and the thermal material used, I'm not really going into that idea. Don't need to. Probably could this side. Anyway, yeah, used to be blueprints for a farm. Whatever. 10 years old. That's sad. Anyway. Okay. Corridors. Yeah. Maybe this entire unit is Selene's. This is too large, though. She's like, no, I live in this area. Right there. And there are 2... Who are these people? She's like... Anyway. Yeah, okay. So, atrium. Selene's quarters. You can go even any further into that. I could duplicate this and then, you know, go into blueprints for it, but I'm not going to. This is like overall outward. Yeah, it's not going to take very long. Okay, so, you know, and duplicate. We have, you know, more areas. Now, I'm not sure how I want to represent the sort of web-like idea. So there's other people that work here, but You know, she's kind of idealized as being the person who this is there more often. Let's see. That's not half bad. It's like, God, they're all the same. I'm like, no. Something has to change here. I'm like, I already grouped it. So this is going to be deleted. And same T-like. I like the T-like idea. This is like circular, right? It's like a circular area. Different. So, something like that. It's not page, but selection area, and I'm going to center that. So this walking area, the solar panels. Do the solar panels change direction? Or I don't think the solar panels should change direction. I think that should be like stationary. They could get more full use out of it, but it would take more power, right? So the question is actually, if there's like all of these little areas, are they apart, like apartments? You know? And then the web light construction, blah, can't do it. Yeah. Anyway, group downward, do they connect? And if they do, how? See, and then we're with this type of area here. So have like an angle. They can't really connect. Like if they do connect, there's gonna be an issue. Like right there. See, there's this triangular area that's just open. Like, what do you do with that? It's like gathering dust. I'm like, no. It's gonna be open, sort of like different sizes. This has got to be somehow closed off a little so that dust does not gather in this little like section, because we all know how difficult that is to clean. Just saying. Just saying, you know, boop, pow. This becomes part of the actual structure, which is like maybe like right about here. A person could fit in there technically. You know, a little bit larger. Not away. Dude, like triangle there. I fixed it. Kind of thing. Yeah. All right. And angling? No, we're trying to get away from that angle. All right. So this is actually going to become part of this, which is objects, path, union. Okay, so I do see a slight issue. That's this node, which gets deleted. Alright, so sort of that same pattern. What I'm going to do is just drop this down all the way to the bottom until the corner meets with the circle. Okay, corner meets with the circle, so you kind of know that it's you know, right on. So these paths are a union, you know. And then you don't really have to worry about cleaning this area very much. And there's a lot of solar panel. These solar panels are thicker than these for some reason because this is a small area. Not as much power is needed to light it. Okay, so I like that concept. And basically I want this and that grouped. Not grouped. Duplicated. So grouped, duplicated. Those are going to be quarter types. That's off. No, that's stay. This and this need to be grouped. They're way off. I messed something up right there. I'm like, yeah! It's not centered. That. Maybe. Yeah, no, that makes no sense. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Maybe we should just go in with like nodes and just be like, hey nodes, come this way. Like, gosh, that worked. Okay, so that's not very off. I like that. Kind of. I don't like the shape though for everything else. I really don't. So I'm gonna go back to the nodes and pull out some of these. She's like, no, I don't want that type of corridor. I'm like, I know. Gosh. Anyway, so these are lines. These two nodes are pulled in. This entire area is hers. Gosh, it's got such big quarters. Okay, so this is the botany lab. There's got to be like other locations too, like Mr. Chamberlain's quarters. The description is basically that she goes from like a lobby area or room uh, toward her. Wait. Okay. This is not. This is the Ansi colony of the moon. Okay, so something like this. I'm thinking the Eternity, the space station. She's like, no. She's got quarters here too. Okay, so this is Bunny Lab, her quarters. I'll figure out the rest later, kind of thing. The freaking Eternity, though. Let me think for a sec. The descriptions that I was talking, they're tubes, quarters to kind of like this, but it's not circular. It's more linear. Geometrics that are not irregular, but quite regular. So that would be like rectangles, squares, circles. Not really circles. It'd be more like rectangles, squares, polygons, regular polygons, which have somewhat equidistant angles and sides and stuff like that, dimensionally. So that is Eternity. This is mostly circular and Ansi colony of the moon, which is like a web-like construct. So the central area is the botany lab, where the supplies are pretty much there. So I go, okay, what if she lives there? That would be interesting too. What if she actually lives there and it's not like a corridor off the actual botany lab? Or is it like, no, she walks to her chambers. So it has to be off the botany lab. Oh my god! Brain, stop. No, not really. Okay, so ungroup, well, see. Really? Am I supposed to be like that? Like, anyway, I'm supposed to figure that out at some point. This is not a page, this is a drawing. And no, the wrong piece. Like this one and this one. Whoa! Just like I gobbled it. I'm like, geez, that hungry, huh? Okay. So we have thickness that's way off. There. Now the tiers are kind of somewhat similar, right? Like these two areas are supposed to be somewhat similar, right? My gosh, it totally just... See my little square right here? It was supposed to be larger. Anyway. This area. It's like, there goes my circle. Great. That is kind of true. And it's going to be thicker, and if it is thicker, how? Anyway. I think I'll just leave it thinner. Like, no, I don't like it. God, this is going to be annoying. Like, oh yes. For a few years, I can't handle it. No, frustration. Actually, frustrated. Frustrate. See, actually, those aren't very, very inaccessible. In my mind, anyway. And that's almost the same thickness, but not quite. Alright, so, I think this entire area, like, boop, like, whoops, that has to stay. Triangular. Has to be equidistant. That doesn't make any sense. Like, you know, that's just going bye-bye. Duplicate. Alright. Now we talk, like, somewhat, right? Like, page down. This is supposed to be like a cute. Like, whatever. Page down. Doesn't matter anyway in that type of situation. Dude, why'd they do that? I don't get it. I'm just saying. I don't get it. No, they do. They just don't tell you that. Use it against you your entire life. No, I don't have any proof of it. Alright. Okay, so we have the entire chamber of Selene. That is really thick right there. No. Alright, I gotta figure this out. Like, gosh, if I change that, it's gonna change everything. How do I do this? I was enjoying that. Make every circle within a circle. This is so fun. My cat's like, shut up. See, now smaller. What's up with that? Anyway, so I like that. Except the botany lab is now too small. Yeah, Selene, she's a hottie. And if? No. Gah. Freaking alright then. I'm not. Didn't. Wouldn't if I could. Couldn't if I wanted to. Alright. So. Linear. Okay. This is as far as I got. So the areas surrounding areas are places that can be walked. Having maybe this is how she does her morning jog. She jogs all the way around her chambers 265 times. How large is her chamber? I'm like, not very large. We'll say like 500 square feet. No, 300 square feet. No, that's too large too. 200 square feet. That's not half bad. 200 square feet is her chamber. How many square feet is this? Like, freaking less than 60. 150 square feet. No, that's about right. 150 square feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you say, you could go yards too, like, way less than, no, yards, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6 or 7 yards. Would that be about right? 150? 7 multiplied 64, no. So it wouldn't be that many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. 10 multiplied by 3 is 30. 10 yards. 30 feet. No, that can't be right. What the hell? Yeah, forget it. Feet. Square feet. So you go feet. A little bit larger than this. So my gosh, from the front door to the back is probably around 20 feet. 15 to 20 feet. So you go 15 to 20. A little bit larger. 30 to 35. 30 feet. 30 square feet. 30 by 30. It's like 90. $100 square feet. I think that's accurate. Okay, so if there's 800 square feet, that's way too small for a botany lab, right? Unless there's very, very few chambers. But it's colony. Maybe that they're just at the beginning of trying to colonize the moon. Or they've been stuck on this roadblock for like freaking roadblock. I mean, no. They've been trying to develop this concept for most of Astrophil's life. Would that be accurate? Has it ever been thought? Like, of course it has. I remember seeing something like that. And then there's like Star Trek. I'm like, okay, no. Okay, so botany. The main conflict is basically that she cannot freaking use this area most beneficially, and they have to depend on supplies missions to remain active. And she's like, yeah, I can do this. You know, she's been doing it for 3 years, 4 years maybe. Let's say 5 years. Like 5 years. She's been there for 3. 2 years prior to that, she had already began. It took her 3 years before the completion of Astrophil's career. She's been on the moon since then. 3 years, and she hasn't been able to. For what reason, though? She's like, well, the first 2 we were building. That's funny as hell. Anyway, this is fun, right? I don't know if I wanted to include that in any type of reference, but at some point they begin talking, and there's a lot of dialogue in that chapter. I'm just saying. A lot. They talk a lot. Importance is that they don't. Cracking myself up. I'm just like, I'll go do my own thing. Fine. You know. You didn't mean that, did you? Get out of my face. No. She's like, I can't. Anywho, alright. Okay, so botany, corridors, living chamber. And there's something else out here. Opposite direction. Okay, so north, of course, north. You're gonna have like Mr. What's his name? Mr. Chamberlain. Mr. Chamberlain. He's the guy, the man. Anyway, his chamber's a lot different. He's more nautical. So you go, bam. He doesn't like atriums. He's not an atrium type of guy. Boop. All right. These are linear, and it's more of a square. So you say a square, maybe he wants to live in a pentagon. Like no, square, hexagon. Thought pattern. So I'm going to not note right here. I'm going to access my notes and maybe form a little understanding of Mr. Chamberlain. So fiction files, of course, my JOTs, my, let's see, development documents, which is, character notes. I'm trying to open these. Anyway. Okay, so we have, of course, Earth, right? Which is these. And the Isle of Angels. Characters, the Eternity characters, say, head of personnel. No gender specific appearance. Okay, this is before she leaves. Maxine and the neoprene suited workers when she arrives. This is upon Eternity. Todd Chamberlain, who's on Eternity. So Mr. Myers, right? Space program lead. He actually wanted to go and, live in the colony on the moon. So that's Mr. Myers, not Mr. Chamberlain. Mr. Chamberlain is a coordinator who Mr. Myers employs on Eternity. When she arrived on Eternity, Miss Celine has the quarters there, and she has quarters on the moon. Kind of like Mr. Myers. No. Let's see, how'd that work? I don't know, differences right there. I like the idea of differences, but anyway, this is, let's see, colony. Chambers, let's see, chambers would include what? Chamber plan, a floor plan. Would include much about, Mr. Myers, mental patterns. So you go, very geometrical, very physical. Very physical and designed in his interest, we'll say that. So I don't know. If I gotta look into the meaning of hex, oct, I'm sure that's 8-way. But hex, not completely sure. I think that's 7. No, that's backwards. Hexadecimal too. It's like the entire system for computers, languages that programmers use to read registry type information, I think it is. And I read a little bit on that. I'm like, eh. Okay. So I doubt that's going to be a square. And it has to be designed somehow in his interest. The floor plan, the interior, stuff like that. So I have an entire idea. It's not just gray. He's not like super law oriented, but he is. There it's mostly science. So he's like mathematics, science, physics, stuff like that. And then there is, Miss Plant Mind over here. That is like, yeah, how do I do this? While Mr. North is like, hey, I haven't seen anything in quite a while, but I like the moon, you? Kind of situation. So he's waiting. See, the difference in mentality there is that they're not going to go without a plan. They're not going to do something without almost sure results prior to actually trying to implement something of the sort. So the fiction in that would be what? It would be an accuracy. So I don't know. I'll probably have to rethink on that one too. It's like, here's the design, right? And this is what the story's like, but they're not going to leave without a plan. So how is that even an antagonist? How is that a conflict? How is that something that can be resolved when it's pretty much a given before they get there? So I don't know, they got to figure out something else, and they're already there. So how's that? Kind of thing. Maybe they did figure it out. Maybe something changed, or I don't know. I'll figure that one out. It's like, okay, we wanted to reside there. Now we got to figure out how we're going to sustain here. How about that one? Like, they already figured we're gonna be doing supplies missions ever so often for X amount of years. We already built a colony there. Now all we have to do is, have plants thrive to sustain without as many supplies missions, because something here on Earth needs more attention, and supplies missions cost X amount of dollars, and X, it's a variable, I think. In other words, it changes and fluctuates and blah 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 blah, any finance. So that ideal that they can grow there, and supplies missions are less often. And then I'm like, water. How are they gonna handle that? They're like, well, we'll make a trip to Jupiter every. Or no, was it Saturn? Saturn, and one of Saturn's moons every so often to grab some whatever it is out there. Hey, hi, kitty. How are you doing? How's Fluff Life? I'm looking weird at you. She's like, I don't even notice. Yeah, that moves, doesn't it? She's looking at the cursor, I think. Hey. Look at you're getting your back paws back. He's so awesome, so awesome, he's so awesome, awesome. No, don't stop for me, jeez. That was awesome. She's like, I'll stretch him. I was like, gosh, if you can only teach me how to do that more often. She's like, shut up, Chris. Shut up. Alright. She's like, you just displaced me. I was on the desk. I was enjoying that. That movement is not what I want. Selection area. Do you know, Mr. Myers. Dude, alright. See, I don't like this. This area here. Let's look what the heck. What the heck with the heck? It's like I'm exposed. Croup. Anyway. I'll go in there. And all. There. These must be connected in some sort of fashion. Easily cleaned. He's like, no, I'm nestled. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't know. It's like other people most of the time. I'm like, no, just based on what I've read. I'm like, do I have to? I gotta go back to the library and freaking remember every book that I was reading. Should have made a bibliography. I was just gaining information. Anyway, people call me stupid. I didn't want to be called stupid. I probably remember bro too. Anyway, the ideal there was to ignore. Anyway, not forever. Like, yeah, why would he even make that promise? So annoying. So annoying. Why would he want to be connected to that? No, he's like, I don't want to be connected to this. He's connected to another corridor. He's connected to this corridor, and maybe he's connected to something this way. Like, yeah, what do I do there? 2 lines straight off here? Is that even possible, though? Duplicate. Let's see, ungroup. I'm gonna grab the corridor. Duplicate. Actually, kind of, right? A web-like construct. Then you go D. Delete. Duplicate. Oh, now it has arms. It's gonna start to look like a spider, eh? Or she's like south, and she's like, he doesn't see me most of the time. No. Okay, I'm not going there. I'm not. Okay, so anyway, these 2 corridors should be aligned with the botany unit's northern area. But not actually toward the botany lab. So these corridors link up with the main corridor that surrounds the botany lab. So you do have 2 corridors off that. Some sort of something like this, all north. Like this entire lower area is off limits because what reason? Oh, I got an idea. What if that comes out towards the solar panels? Like they get occasional sunlight. What about something like that? I'm like, brain. And my brain is my company at the moment. Brain's like, well, I don't know. Alright, so I do kind of have an idea here. And one is that this, good one, brain. This entire area might be shared. Like, dude. Pow, like, no. Let's see. And that's fine. They go get there. Anyway. So almost there. Dude, like, put a pow. Selection area, let's go page bam. Okay, so this area and oh, I see a corner. Yeah. least almost, right? Orb. Just like there's not very much insulation right there. Like, gosh. Okay, she's the botanist, right? Deep. I'm like, yep. Okay, so that's not gonna work. This and the square. I'm like, these have to become one, kind of. Let's see. Duplicate center. Do you have a sort of issue right here? You can see that the square, someone involved, and I'm like, no, actually that's a freaking. Anyway, this gets pulled down to just about the correct area. I'm going to page this down. This, if I'm seeing this correctly, dude, they're right about there. Becomes actually part of the square. So you go the square, the square gets duplicated because it is actual building type structure, and then this gets deduced or subtracted, kind of like difference. And then it's going to remove all the nodes because it's not going to be needed. Like seriously though. Unless these aren't separated, what the heck? Oh, they are. Dude. Yeah, other side. It's like the other side. There's 2 nodes. It's like I'm a floating node. Okay, do now. Anyway. Okay, so this area is also part of the botany lab. So we're gonna go entire page, center that, and then these paths are gonna be union. So there's that. It becomes like this little area that lets sunlight in. But that entire area looks, I don't know, appears as if that can be closed as well, like some sort. Anyway, botany lab. This area, I don't know what this could be. Thermal. So you go thermal. Maybe, yeah. Storage areas in the thermal sort of area, which is consistent with the space station, I think. Like they thermaled the heck out of that. Okay, slight differences. Let's see. This. Do you see that? And I'm like, what the heck? Wow! Alrighty then. Who the hell? Alright, so let's see. Bring this down and then over. Dude, I'm like, line it up. Down. Dude, over. Pow. Entirely inaccurate. Alright. Visual representation almost complete. Just a few slight differences. These 2 nodes raised. These 2 nodes raised. So then you go thermal. If the heat enters here and this area is heated rapidly, it'll push the air out this way. So it'll be warm. Sort of in a thermal area. So, maybe this is an open area for like ground plants, and this is like sort of compartments or something. I don't know. Like, I'll figure it out. Compartments for plants on the moon. Anyway, so I'm still working on that one. That's as far as I got today. I'm like gonna play video games now. It's 3:25, and I've been talking probably for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm gonna work more on this later. Like I said, I got some more designing for Mr. Myers' chambers. Looks like Celine's little chambers is doing pretty cool. And then also better representation for the words that I chose, or I can change the words that I chose to describe it, which is web-like construct. And what I mean by web, there's different types of webs too, though, which is like, and the reason for it, which is like thermodynamics. And the ability to travel from one location to another very quickly. Without the ability to beeline from one location to another. Or like a complete open space. It has to be like a destinational type point system, you know, like, okay, if you go to quadrant blah 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 and make a right, you know, kind of arc around to, you know, your northward northward corridor, you'll get there in no time. You know, and each is approximately this amount of, or this distance, you know, and being incredibly accurate because it's fun. But at the same time, you know, having my own fun, like I always do, kind of sometimes. Okay, so thank you for listening. I will do this again some other time.